Welcome back. Legal experts, Chukwemeka Eze helps us make sense of the Panama Papers and why there's so much buzz around them. I begin by asking him whether Mossack Fonseca really is a legal company and if its activities have been legal so far.
Mossack Fonseca is a credible legal firm. It is the law that determines credibility, and in Panama, the Panamanian law makes it a credible legal firm. And you need to know that Ramon Fonseca, up to recently, was an advisor to the president of Panama. So it is a credible legal firm.
So why do you think they could be involved in illegal activities such as helping the super rich to hide their money so that they don't pay taxes as they should?
It is assumably illegal, not presumably illegal. The actions to some extent does not amount to illegality because where they hide those funds are tax havens, and tax havens by their nature were creations of the West where people could do what they are being used to do now. You recall that when it served the interest of the West, nobody complained. It was just as little back as April 2009 that the G20 in their summit in London called upon the world to take notice of tax havens and to take measures to checkmate tax havens. And since then, you are aware that the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, a European initiative, but with membership more than from Europe, has taken steps to form what you call Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange on Information, exchange of information. So this is a multilateral treaty in the works that we bring in, that has brought in, as we speak, about 100 countries to key into it, such that when you want to find out information about a company concerning tax payment, you can always beckon on some other countries to give information, because the position now is that except you have a bilateral relationship with another country, they cannot give you information, confidential information about the taxpayer. And this has made taxpayers to find havens where they can hide their monies, pay low or very little or none.
Well, as you say, Mossack Fonseca is a legal company, and then you need to sift, those who have been doing illegal business through this company and those who have not, because there might be some legit businesses that Mossack Fonseca is attending to. But if the names of some leaders around the world have been linked to these Panama Papers, does that affect the credibility of these leaders?
Yes, yes, because when you operate a shell company, in a shell company you don't reveal your personality. Many of them don't reveal their personalities. They use their children, business associates. In fact, sometimes pseudonyms are used. People they don't know, but they are protected one way or the other. So they are nominees that could be used to register those companies and run in their favor. So, and in some situations, they create a trust. This trust form companies. A trust might be formed in a particular location, a particular jurisdiction. That trust will create a company in another jurisdiction. The assets of that company will even be in another jurisdiction. So this multi-jurisdiction will be packaged in such a way to give advantage to the end beneficiaries. And this is something that when people come into power, such companies like Mossack Fonseca will move in, because Mossack Fonseca is the 4th largest law firm in the world. So we've not talked about the clients of the 1st largest, 2nd largest, 3rd largest. That's to show you that it is the end thing for people that come into governance. They try to hide their monies, and many of these monies are illegitimate,
and
they need it to do the next election. That's why you see free money used for elections. It's difficult to trace these monies. So basically, Mossack Fonseca, what he's doing is to help people look at the law of different jurisdictions and look for loopholes, capitalize on these loopholes, and help people to hide their money.
It sounds like a lot of work for the lawyers in that firm. It sounds like a lot of work, because if you have to keep poring over papers from several countries and so on.
They don't need papers. They go online. When they factor in a particular thing, they key it online, Google it, and know the country.
Yeah, but I've said it is time consuming to have to do that, because even if you have to,
well, but they make a lot of money.
Yeah, okay.
They make millions of dollars.
So if countries are going to be investigating leaders whose names have been mentioned, it sounds like, you know, they could be opening up a plethora of problems actually as well. So will that be in the best interest of these countries? I mean, how will it really affect them?
It will be in the best interest of these countries, because transparency is needed in governance. Many of these countries have leaders that sign taxation laws. They sign. They leave others to be paying these taxes. They now take their own money and go to countries where they don't pay taxes. You can see the conflict of interest. Because if you're in a country where you make the money, you should pay taxes. Yeah. So why should you run away from that country? You sign the laws for others to pay. You now run away to another country where you won't pay tax, and now use pseudonyms and employing the financial secrecy laws of those countries or crown dependencies, as the case may be, and begin to hide your money there, using your wife, using your children, using distant persons. So these investigations will help bring about political correction among our leaders. Then in terms of taxation, those that have been evading taxes, you know, there's a difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion. Tax avoidance is not a crime, but tax evasion is a crime. All those ones that amount to tax avoidance, there could be political consequences for leaders. But those ones that amount to tax evasion, there will actually be criminal prosecution for those, whether they are leaders or not. And that will make the revenue agencies make more money. They will get more lost revenue, and they can carry out further audits. More so, in terms of money laundering, you know, in Nigeria, we have the Money Laundering Prohibition Act of 2011, which was amended in 2012. If there is any finding, any outcome of investigation that could lead to prosecution under the Money Laundering Act, that could be carried out. If it requires prosecution under the tax legislation, that could be carried out. As it affects those in Nigeria, as for other countries like France, UK, they are doing their work. And at the end of the day, I want to assure you, because taxation is taken very serious in Europe and the other parts of the West.
What if you know, the leaders? What if the money is legitimate? It's gotten through legitimate means. There is a business that you don't really want anybody to know about. It's not government money that you're stashing with Mossack Fonseca. It's not government money. It is your personal money, but you're trying to evade tax.
Now, the next issue is, even if you're not evading tax, did you declare it? In most countries, when you attain leadership, you'll be given declaration forms. Yes. The real problem is that many of these leaders did not declare these forms. That is the secret, and that's why the Tax Justice Network, since 2003, is a British NGO, is been working on finding out what's happening in this, what they call financial secret jurisdictions. And they have developed what we call Financial Secrecy Index, of which Switzerland is #1. You have Hong Kong, you have Singapore, you have Cayman Islands, you have British, you have Panama is around #11. So this, and it has been found that by, as at 2014, that $7.6 trillion, about 8% of the world, the wealth of the whole world, has been stashed in tax havens. And the implication of this is that Africa alone is losing 30% of the wealth of Africa is in tax havens. And with this 30%, our infrastructure could be taken care of. We will reduce what we call the health tourism.
Yes.
So we can reduce infant mortality. But our leaders prefer to stash this money 30%. As for Latin America, 22%. USA is just 4%. So, and Europe is 10%. So if you look at the financial, in fact, the figure I've given you is the figure Gabriel Zuxman, the man who wrote The Hidden Wealth of Nations, The Scourge of Tax Havens. That's his figure. As for Tax Justice Network, they are even operating with a figure of between 21 and $32 trillion as of 2012. So that's it's as bad as that.
It really
It's
sounds,
as bad as that.
it sounds criminal. But you know, the names of some Nigerians have popped up. The Senate President's wife mentioned as the owner of one of the shell companies. Other names have been the Minister of Defense, retired Lieutenant Tiwa Danjuma. The EFCC says it's still expecting a full list, and then it will now decide a course of action after seeing that full list. But it's also monitoring the activities on in the international community as to how to go about this, and it may eventually involve Interpol. How do you think Nigeria will eventually deal with this?
I think we will have problem in giving evidence because some of this, you want to use internet evidence to prosecute these people, or will you call people from, anyway, Interpol, if Interpol helps them and gives them sufficient information. My problem with Nigeria is the political will. We will have the political will. When it came to Halliburton case, we did not investigate it. CMS, we dilly-dallied. Will we investigate this one? If we do, does it mean that we bury Halliburton and CMS and investigate this one? There are so many moral questions to investigate. Ordinarily, as a matter of fact, not only FCC, Federal Inland Revenue Service ought to investigate, because part of the money might have been money that should have been taxed, that has not been taxed. So it's not just EFCC, Federal Inland Revenue Service should investigate, and it could earn a lot of revenue at the end of the day. But if you want to adopt other prosecutorial legislation like the Money Laundering Prohibition Act, you may have a problem in getting certain kind of evidence. But tax laws being sui generis, being special kind of laws, it is easier to use them to capture people than ordinary laws, because in ordinary laws you talk of presuming the person innocent before proving guilty. But in tax law, you can withhold money and allow the person to prove. So I think they can do something.
Okay, so very quickly, Mossack Fonseca says it's a victim here because the leaked documents it says it was the work of an insider. Do you think they're a victim in any way?
I think investigation has to be carried out, but I know that firm wouldn't ordinarily release its documents to the whole world. So in that regard, it is a victim, but in the other regard, being a technological world, it is impossible not to have technological leaks from time to time. So if Edward Snowden could be able to do it successfully, WikiLeaks did it successfully, this is even a smaller one. More are coming on the way. This is part of the technological innovation we have come to see in the world.
That's the program this week. Thanks for joining us. I'm always eager to hear from you. So tell us why you think many leaders look to Panama to hide their wealth. The address is to talk to us on our right on your screen. I am Amarachi Ubani. Thanks for watching.